The Pendulum Podcast. I have with me Josh Vandernoord, as always, and then today filling in for Rodney, I guess, because he wanted to skip out on. He's got a little scared. I don't know, maybe the topic scared him off, but David Longacre is joining us today. Welcome, David.
Thank you.
We got a little bit to get to today. It all kind of blends together. You got a little bit of Tim Walz, you got a little bit of terrorism, you got a little bit of Elon and Tesla. We'll see how this goes. The first thing I want to do is I want to jump into one of these videos. It's about a minute and a half. We're going to sit through it, and then we're going to catch you on the back end, kind of talk about it. I know Josh needs a little energy, so I'll go find him some energy while we're watching this.
Angry because she was driving a Tesla.
I was thankfully by myself.
Lee was on the way to a doctor's appointment in Linwood Wednesday morning when she says all of a sudden a driver behind her just laid on the horn as they came up to a red light. Things spiraled out of control when a white SUV followed her and cut her off, stopping in the middle of the road.
Gets out and walks straight up to my window. So I cracked my window and I said, what is the problem? And he goes, you need to sell your car. This is a Nazi car. You're driving it. You need to sell your car.
Lee says she's been driving a Tesla for the last 2 years. She says the man wearing a camouflage jacket and a ski mask attacked her for it.
It's really sad, that this is what's happening to people who honestly, it doesn't affect how I believe or what I believe. It was just the car I drive. Being in Seattle, climate's important, our footprint's important. This seemed like the right move for our very busy family.
This, however, isn't the first incident or act of vandalism reported. We've seen attack after attack after attack. Teslas set ablaze at the Las Vegas Service Center earlier this week, with the culprit leaving behind the word resist. In Oregon, shots were fired at a dealership, and in Massachusetts, charging stations were torched. These incidents have only intensified since CEO Elon Musk has...
I'm going to cut that one a little bit short, but I got a question for both of you. You know, if I told you that a female driving a Tesla in Seattle, and I wanted you to guess her politics, what would you guess?
Liberal.
Come on now. Is she a Trump supporter? Like, why are we firebombing Teslas for Elon?
You know, there's 99% chance that she is liberal Democratic voter over there, especially because the entire West Coast is Democratic voting states and have been for many years.
Absolutely.
And, I mean, the whole ridiculousness over this whole thing and fighting Tesla, it's not bankrupting Elon by any means. It's not taking him down. If anything, it's pissing people off.
Yeah, I think that's exactly what it's doing. It's emboldening people, you know, especially Tesla owners. I mean, you know, they bought a Tesla. A lot of these people bought a Tesla because, like we'll watch here in this Colbert video here in a second, you know, Tesla was very high on their priority list of, you know, EVs and, you know, fight big oil and go green. So let's just take a step back in time. Not even that long ago. I think this is from like 2018 or so.
Since the invasion, oil prices have skyrocketed. Today, the average gas price in America hit an all-time record high of over $4 per gallon. Okay, that stings, but a clean conscience is worth $1 or $2. I'm willing to pay. It's important. Right. It's important. I'm willing to pay $4 a gallon. Hell, I'll pay $15 a gallon because I drive a Tesla.
Whoa, what was that? What was that there? Oh, these people are insane, man.
You know what I was just thinking about? You remember how they were talking about getting rid of Donald Trump's cameo in Home Alone 2? You know, he had that famous cameo in Home Alone 2. I wonder if they're going to petition to get rid of Elon Musk's cameo in Iron Man 2. You remember he was in that?
Dude, don't give him any ideas, Josh.
Most people forgot it. That was back when no one really knew who he was at this level.
Yeah,
but I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, with this kind of stuff, it's coming. I guarantee it.
I wouldn't doubt it. There's a lot going on right now. Just to set the stage for the rest of this podcast, I want to watch a Tim Walz Tesla clip. He's talking about how he enjoys watching Tesla's stock fall. And that's going to, kind of set the stage for the rest of this. I got a ton of videos. A lot of them are, you know, Tesla firebombings or vandalism. And then we're going to get to that on the back end of this.
iPhone, I know some of you know this on the iPhone. They've got that little stock app. I added Tesla to it to give me a little boost during the day. 225 and dropping. So, and if you own one, we're not blaming you. You can take dental floss and pull the Tesla thing off, you know, and take out, just telling you.
I mean, he's basically encouraging what's going on right now. I mean, he's enjoying watching Tesla stock fall. And we'll get to it here in a minute, but his constituents have pensions through the state in Tesla stock. I think it's 0.5%, which is a significant amount when you look at the grand scheme of it. So he's wanting people's retirement to fall. Like that's what he's encouraging right here.
You know, it really is amazing to see this, because it's within a year's time before Elon Musk started even really campaigning or going along with whatever Donald Trump had come on a platform for. Everybody was praising Elon Musk. You know, the EVs are the way to go. Tesla is one of the greatest things in the world. Look at all the stuff he's doing with Starlink and SpaceX. And he's just the most amazing guy and the most brilliant businessman. He's a mega billionaire, the richest man in the world. And they were singing his song day and night. And the moment he started talking about Donald Trump and supporting the ideas behind that, everything went downhill from there.
Josh?
Yeah, well, yeah.
Josh is guys, let me get on camera. Josh has been up all night. Josh hadn't been to sleep since, what did you say, 4 o'clock yesterday morning?
Yeah, I'm not exactly operating on all cylinders here, but we're gonna make it work. We're doing our best.
I ought to just kick him off and run the podcast like this. All right, David, me and you, dude. But no, I'm messing with Josh, giving him a hard time. But like I said, I'm gonna run through some of these clips. What you were talking about? Oh, you were talking about, you know, Elon hadn't even been in the idea of Americans really that much in the political sphere for that long, and you know it's taken a turn. And these people that are vandalizing these Teslas, you know, they got a lot coming for them. Let me see. I think I have Trump's truth right here. Before we jump into some of these other videos, it says, I look forward to watching the sick terrorist thugs get 20 years in jail sentences for what they're doing to Elon Musk and Tesla. Perhaps they could serve them in the prison of El Salvador, please, which have become so recently famous. Somebody needs to learn him some English.
For such lovely conditions.
But yeah, I mean, you got the president of the United States calling for extreme prison time for people vandalizing Teslas. So let's take a look at some of these Tesla vandalisms. I apologize for this one. I apologize. Listen, man, that wasn't even all of them. That wasn't even the worst of them. I mean, what are these people thinking, dude? They're going to prison because they want to stick their finger on their bungholes. What are you even thinking, dude? Like, please, El Salvador, shave their head, make them get some tattoos. I don't care, whatever you got to do to make them blend in. But I mean, these people they're delusional. They have no thought process. You thought I was done, though. We got more.
Hit it.
If I can click on it.
What's so insane, and you point this out, is how the liberal crowd is endorsing criminality. I mean, Tim Walz celebrating Tesla's stock decline in the wake of the attack seems to be encouraging more attacks. Jasmine Crockett telling activists, take down Tesla, take down Elon. Rick Wilson, who's a nutball, urging people to, quote, kill Tesla. Then, of course, Jimmy Kimmel inducing his audience to cheer the arson, do more of it. These are vile comments by despicable people. And the problem with the leftist extremists is they're eating their own. They're viciously attacking their own political ideal, which is an all-electric car company done more for climate change than anybody. And now they want to tear down the very business they championed.
All right, I got even more videos than that. You guys got any input on that so far? I mean, there's tons of these videos out here. I mean, I have tweets of images of it too. I mean, it's not just videos. This is just this morning. Tesla charging station was set on fire. I mean, this isn't anecdotal. I mean, this is pure decentralized terrorism, if you will. I mean, these people need to go to prison. I don't care if it's stabbing a tire or wiping your butt sweat on a Tesla or firebombing the whole thing. It doesn't matter. All up and down, they need to go to prison. We need extreme enforcement across the board.
Do you guys think, because I know this news story kind of became popular in the last few days, it almost seems like because it's being covered, the amount of this sort of like activity has increased since they've started covering it.
Was it a Streisand effect type setup?
Yeah. Like
it definitely is. I mean, you see, oh, look what they did in this one centralized location. Let's repeat that, or try to, how much bigger can we do it over in this location? Trying to top off the last.
And it's kind of, I just now remembered, if y'all recall, actually, it was like January 2nd or 5th. I don't quite remember, but like it was the very beginning of the year. There was actually someone filled up a Cybertruck with a bunch of fireworks and like homemade explosives and set it off in front of the Trump Tower. So this isn't even a recent thing now that I come to think about it.
It's not recent, but it seems like it's more.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Like a lot more decentralized, more emboldened. Off the top of my mind, it's like is DOGE going after NGOs and NGOs funding, or DOGE going after USAID? USAID funds all these NGOs. It's proven that, especially recently, I know InfoWars posted a bunch of information that they've gotten of documents where the NGOs are paying it's riots for rent. And so these NGOs are paying for riots or vandalism or Summer of Love or BLM, or you call it what you will. These NGOs are paying for it. DOGE is going after their funding. I know this sounds complex. Where's the meme? But it seems to me as the people that are doing this funding for the riots are getting mad because their funding's being cut from the federal government. So why not? I'm just saying, why wouldn't they encourage the destabilization of Doge? Does that make sense? That's a lot.
It absolutely makes sense, and it's actually not a lot, and it's not that far-fetched to think of it, and it sort of comes back to follow the money trails again that we talk about so often. When you have certain groups and pockets to fill up, and creating slush funds for certain special interests, and that's getting cut off, of course they're going to be pissed, and they're going to be looking for ways, well, what are we going to do to get back at this? How can we undermine everything else that's going on?
Josh, anything?
I think you're right, and that was something I hadn't thought of, because this, like we were kind of talking about, this news story's new, and So I hadn't really considered that, but I do think there's a point to be made there. With that being said, it begs the question. So you showed a video of a guy sticking his hand, up his ass and then scraping it on the car. Initially, my thought was, I think that may have happened naturally. You get these like psycho liberal people that are just willing to do that. But then at the same time, it's like the kind of people that take money to be these rioters for rent. Would they also be the kind of person who would just do that?
Yeah, I'm not saying he's getting paid, but there's definitely some money being flowing somewhere. And maybe Mr. Butt Sweat guy isn't, but some of these guys are. And you make the point that who are these people doing it? Like, obviously they're politically aligned. This is a tight group. Fox News kind of had a little bit of a segment. They kind of touched on this real briefly.
Jesse, there's a part of the story that I think you're going to like. A lot of these suspects keep blaming their behavior on women because they keep identifying as women.
Oh, Trantifa.
Yeah.
Right. Trans.
So they get to blame all the burning and all the
activists.
chaos on the ladies. It's not very fair.
And Joe Biden's not in charge anymore, so when they go to prison, they can't get sex changes, Katie. I'm sorry. This is why successful people don't go into politics, because the Democrats shoot them in the ear and burn their businesses down, Jessica. This is a real test for Bondi Cash and Bongino, which sounds like a law firm. I love it. They are going to have to do something big. They have criminals that are announcing the time and location of where they're going to strike next on the 29th of March. They have to have a big sweep, an operation, Defend DOGE, Operation Trantifa Justice. I don't care what you call it. They have to round them up, cuff them up, put them in the paddy wagon, and throw them in the clink. And then they have to go after their financiers, because you can't give money to these groups that go destroy cars and then say, I didn't know what the money was for. On their website, there's a map of the country with little Molotov cocktails marked on it, wherever there's a Tesla station. So Gutfeld's audience, has it ever applauded January 6th? Please say no.
Never.
Okay, probably not. And if Gutfeld was to say, please, guys, don't storm the Capitol, he would have gotten killed. But Kimmel can do it, and these guys at The Daily Show can laugh it up. I don't care anymore. They have to throw the book at these people. I'm thinking solitary, Supermax. Mm-hmm. Maybe put Bongino's podcast, pump it right into the jail cell. Cruel and unusual punishment.
When they throw the book at it, it should be a Trump Bible.
Dude, Jesse Watters is the best thing that cable news has right now. I mean, it's not even close. I didn't even watch that clip all the way through, but I mean, we're on the same page there. Either one of you? I'm talking a lot today. I'll keep going if y'all want me to.
I really like that they're bringing out the point with the money and who is actually funding it, or who may be behind the curtain to get to these groups, because obviously they're not just taking it upon themselves. There is a hierarchy that is organizing it and funding it. They're not just one person going out there, I think I'm going to go and set off a Molotov cocktail today on this dealership, which blows my mind as well, that they're even targeting individual cars or dealerships or charging stations, because it is not Elon Musk that they're directly affecting by doing that. It is the dealership that owns the cars. Elon's already sold those cars through the company to the dealership. The dealership owns them. They have insurance on those vehicles. They have all the liability on those vehicles. Elon has already collected his profit and royalties and everything else from that vehicle. You're affecting an individual ownership there by doing that. So you're not actually getting to Elon Musk directly. And he's sitting back watching all of this, and I can't imagine what's going through his mind at the time, but it'd be pretty interesting. It's also interesting to see that when they are firebombing these cars, because they're so concerned for the environment and so concerned about everything else. Do you know how many chemicals are being put off by those batteries exploding and everything going into the air and atmosphere? And
that's a good point. That's a good point.
Like, how insane are these people? We're so worried about using
maybe they
an
don't
EV.
actually believe what they say they believe.
Absolutely not. I mean, most of it is
Well, they definitely don't understand it. I mean, it's almost like not to be facetious here, but it's like their version of the gospel, where like they don't fully comprehend the literature, the text. They just know the talking points, and that's really all they've got. And something you brought up about the Jesse Waters clip that I think, or that he said in the clip that I want to see, that we've talked about before on other shows, is, metaphorically speaking, maybe, let's see heads roll. Put people in jail. Go after them. And you know, in January 6th, the FBI was like using like cell phone data. Like they knew everyone who was like in Washington D.C. at the time. You can't do that at a Tesla dealership at like 3 p.m. on a Thursday.
Going to find those locations.
Yeah, yeah, they absolutely could if they wanted to. So get on it, Cash, or Pam, or whoever, you know, get on it.
Yeah, I mean, he said, what do you call him? Trantifa?
Trantifa,
that was so good, dude.
That was funny. That was good.
I didn't catch it the first few seconds I watched. But you know, Jesse Waters, without question, is probably the best thing cable TV's got right now. Not saying I watch a lot of it or any at all, but from what I can tell from the clips he gets tossed around, he's definitely keeping a lot of stuff afloat. Jumping into some of these other clips, man. I mean, this is CNN. Well, I think I have 2 CNN clips. I'll run this CNN clip, and then we'll talk about it, and then I'll catch you another CNN clip on the other side.
I think, go back to point one. When you set a car on fire, you should go to jail. You're a criminal.
Any car,
I don't think we have to
actually.
talk about it
not
in any
just
other
Tesla.
context. And all those cars have cameras in them, and those dealerships have cameras. You're beyond being stupid when you do that. You're going to go to jail, and you now have a government that just got their mandate. They can't wait to find idiots that do this. You're going to spend 5 to 20 years in prison. If they get them on terrorism, which I think is a stretch, they will have no parole, no shortened sentence. They'll rot in hell in prison for 20 years. And frankly, as far as I'm concerned, that's okay. Breaking in, shooting a car, setting on fire, nothing to do with the politics, nothing to do with Tesla. You are a criminal, and you should go
what about the broader
to
question
jail.
about the protest factor? I mean, you heard
What
Tim Walz.
protest? You're a criminal.
I'm talking about Tim Walz and his comments about the Tesla stock. He says it gives him a boost to see that stock going down.
That poor guy didn't check his portfolio and his own pension plan for state. It's beyond stupid what he did. He's talking down a 3.5% weighting in his own pension plan. I mean, what's the matter with that guy? He doesn't check the well-being of his own constituents in his state.
I mean,
that's their
to
investment
your
fund.
point,
What a bozo.
What a bozo! I mean,
it's poo-poo.
This is CNN. I got another clip coming up from the black gentleman that was on the screen that is almost the same thing. I mean, CNN is airing these clips trying to kind of show where this Overton window is being pushed to. This is the pendulum swinging. If CNN is able to hold this, I mean, we're on the way to the far
thank God
right.
we dodged the bullet having Tim Walz in office, because obviously with his line of thinking, if it's a great thing to have the economy go down and stocks go down when most people's pension plans, 401ks, all their investments for retirement are sinking and losing money, and he thinks this is a wonderful thing.
Yeah, I mean, they're just hateful people. They have no sympathy. They want to proclaim we're the empathetic. We can see in other people's shoes. Dude, he's just trying to crash everything because he hates that he is a loser. And we'll get to that in a second.
And it is kind of funny about the whole Tim Walz thing, because I'll be honest, I hadn't even thought about him since the election ended. But since
Nobody
that is
else
kind
has
of
either.
Yeah, exactly, kind of a hot topic of the day. It is kind of funny to think about how Tim Walz is probably the only person in U.S. politics that is like the proper VP counter to Kamala as like like mystery meat woman, and but also like the only person they could find that is probably like well, shouldn't she be working for him? Like, if they wouldn't get Gavin Newsom in there as her VP because it's just like this isn't right. We got to flip this around.
Josh,
he's probably the only one they could find like
Josh,
that.
that's a fantastic take because that's kind of what we're going to get into here in a second. We can start that conversation out with what you said, but then you mentioned Gavin Newsom, and
I think this notion of toxicity and masculinity needs to be separated. And I think it's been conflated. And I think we're going to have to work on that a little bit. And I think there is a crisis.
I think some of us scare them. I think I scare them a little bit. Why they spend so much time on this. No, I'm serious because I can fix a truck. They know I'm not bullshitting on this. Yeah. I'm not putting this in people's grill. I don't know if my identity is not hunting. My identity is not football coaching. My identity is not, a beard and a truck.
Bro, what a clown, dude. What a clown. This is their masculinity. This is the Democrats' masculinity. Maybe this will pull up. I don't know if y'all can read it. Let's see. Top line is POC women. The next one is POC men. White women, white men. And this is an age bracket for support for the Democrat Party. You wanna say you're too masculine or the Democrat Party is masculine or Tim Walz scares somebody. That's a joke, dude. They have he's such a clown. I don't even know how to. What do you do to that? What do you even say to him? He's so delusional.
It's too idiotic to even describe.
Well, and even Gavin Newsom, he had to kind of like he had. You could tell it was like a natural like laugh when he was like, I think they're afraid of me, and then he had to be like like this sort of like, oh yes, like an agreement type laugh. Wasn't that interview like before the election or was this after? Was this recent?
I think that is Gavin Newsom's podcast, which started like 2 weeks ago.
Oh
yeah, that's new, dude.
The way they were talking, I thought it was like a preamble to the election. Oh.
I think he's going to try to run again or something. Who knows, dude? These people are crazy.
That has to be his idea.
Who do they have to run besides Gavin Newsom?
For what? What could he possibly...
Don't put it past these people, man.
Unless some other people kind of like throw their hat in the ring, I think it's going to be a Newsom AOC 2028 race.
Dude, I definitely see Newsom there. I wouldn't doubt a Fetterman being there. The question is, is the DNC going to allow the moderate position or the extreme position? And I don't think they can play both sides of that coin.
You raise a good point. I'm sorry to go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Okay. Because we had talked about that before, and kind of the point I was mentioning a little bit earlier was you almost saw that at the DNC convention before the election. There was this sort of like step back. They still had a bunch of all the typical like super woke stuff, but it was really toned down compared to previous DNC conventions. And they were almost like Oprah Winfrey came out and was talking about like patriotism and I'm proud to be an American, which you have not been hearing from the left over the last couple of years until recently.
I find that amazing as well for the ones that have been talking about that, like Oprah, and yet so many of them in previous times were, well, if Trump gets elected, I'm leaving. I'm going to Canada. I'm going to somewhere in the European Union or some other country, and they're going to be leaving. And yet we have so many of them still here, even during the time. Which, okay, but I think it's really interesting though to see the numbers for the voters that are actually still coming out and the dissatisfaction with the whole Democratic Party and how many people they have actually lost even after the election and after Trump has been in office. Their voter demographics are still declining and their popularity is still declining, which has told them they screwed up big time before and during the election.
Did y'all like take a peek at my notes or anything before this podcast? The data is clear. Democrats face historic discontent with base. Look at these chart lines.
it has definitely moved. And something else that I have actually seen several charts of recently, very recently, the number of black male voters has shifted from what has traditionally been going to a Democratic vote, has now shifted to a Republican vote. So there is something definitely happening there.
I haven't looked at the hard numbers on that, but the way I would perceive that happening is the black male is the lowest turnout voter. And so because of that and the discontent and the lack of masculinity in the Democrat Party, I mean, this is a position that, you know, black males take as a more masculine position. They naturally ought to be Republican in this context. And so maybe they're just turning out more and they just happen to be further right just by the nature of the beast.
Possibly so, but I think to some extent they've seen the decades of the crap that the Democratic Party has been churning out.
That definitely
and
helps.
with their policies, it's ridiculous. And I think they're just getting fed up with it the way the rest of us have been fed up with it for some time now too, that enough is enough. We're just not going to do that anymore.
Yeah, I've definitely been seeing that, like in certain spheres online, where you see these like these black activist types. They're actually starting to adopt the narrative from the right for different reasons, that that the Democrat Party is basically just another version of the plantation, where it's like it's like they say the Democrat Party is the plantation because they promise big and then never deliver. And you're seeing this. That's what conservatives have been saying for a long time, but you're seeing it start to pick up traction, and especially these like black male influencers online.
And I can absolutely see that. And to go back and it's a terrible cliche to use the line, the 40 acres and a mule during LBJ's term, you know, with so many programs that were going to be given. You know, we're going to get rid of poverty completely in the United States. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. We're going to give you all this stuff. Where is it? And when has it been delivered? Nothing has been free. Nothing has been given. And everything that has been put in place has kept people that are at poverty level or below stuck in that position. It has not improved anybody's life. It's stuck in a cycle, and it's been going on for a couple of generations, 3 generations now, of that same cycle of, no, we're going to give you just enough to survive and get by, but you're going to do exactly what we say, vote the way we say, and no, we're not doing it anymore.
Mm-hmm. And it's been perpetuated by people like, we'll get back to Tim Walz now. Tim Walz. This is in a lot of these, I got a couple of videos. We're going to kind of parse them out. We'll talk about him in between each. But yeah, I mean, this podcast is Bash on Tim Walz podcast right now. Ready, set, go.
Getting defeat on November 5th. Reagan.
How should Americans view politicians who take pride in the downfall of an American car company?
I think that's quite sad, but I think Governor Walz unfortunately is living a sad existence after his devastating defeat on November 5th. Reagan.
Ooh, that's tough, dude. That's tough, dude.
I love it. I love it. Just say what it is. Let's call it what it is.
And I'm kind of biting my tongue on her. She's been doing pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, Trump's press secretaries have been pretty solid. He's very good at picking press secretaries. Tommy Lauren,
I'll give him that.
Huckabee, this one, what's her name? I don't even know.
Carolyn Levitt.
Sure.
Look, Tim Walz is a complete moron to me. I have to be very honest, and I'm not surprised why the American people did not choose him. Nothing against the vice president. With that said, Elon Musk employs 80,000+ Americans. Most of them are working class people. The implications of the stock, let's say this were to continue on for another year, so I'm just throwing out a hypothetical. Will the company at some point have to decrease its workplace? Most of those people, I would imagine, probably vote for Democrats, at least some of them. So now you're impacting people who likely share your worldview because you disagree with Elon Musk. Don't buy the car. Just like those guys are saying, let's protest Anheuser-Busch, et cetera. We're just not going to buy their beer. I'm okay with that. But destroying public property, there is no place for that. I agree with Kevin. Lock them up and set an example that this is not what we're going to tolerate in this country.
I mean,
again, this is CNN, dude. I mean, the pendulum is swinging. I can't imagine they would have two people to disagree with this push for firebombing Teslas in the same discussion.
You know, I like the idea, and there definitely needs to be some form of harsh punishment. I'm not sure I like the idea of them going to jail, especially on a longer term, because after all the destruction and what they're doing, as a taxpayer, I don't want to have to fit the bill for that.
Yeah, I think we all agree that less people should be in jail.
You know what we need? We need to fill jails up with giant hamster wheels connected to lithium-ion batteries, and then they can work to replenish
we'll generate
the charge.
for the chargers for the EVs for Tesla.
Every single podcast, every time me and Josh get together and we talk about jail or capital punishment, he always comes up with this elaborate Sisyphus type setup where they're just in eternal punishment. What was the other one that you were talking about doing? Oh no, we were talking about firing squad. He said, "I'm not for capital punishment. We should just put them in the rock mines or something."
Yeah, like they should be like
put them on hamster wheels and generate
indentured servants is a nice way to put it.
That's pretty good. That's pretty
as
good.
they repay their debt to society forever.
Exactly. There you go.
But yeah, I mean, the narrative that's kind of being pushed is, oh, the right boycotted Bud Light for their tranny stuff. It's like, well, nobody was destroying other people's personal property. People were going out and buying Bud Light, which is ridiculous, Kid Rock, and shooting it up. It's like you're spending money to say you're not going to spend money. Like, first of all, that's retarded. Second of all, it's not somebody else's Bud Light. It's yours. These people were destroying Teslas. I mean, tens of thousands of dollars, if not the entire distribution portion of Tesla. Some more Tim Walz bashing. Ready, set, go.
Tim Walz is now saying about Trump supporters, and forgive me, I'm just reading a quote from Tim Walz. I think I could kick most of their ass.
Oh boy, he'd be in trouble.
Is there any way to know?
Well, he's a loser. Yeah, I mean, he's a loser. He lost an election. He played a part. You know, usually a vice president doesn't play a part, they say. I think Tim played a part. I think he was so bad that he hurt her. But she hurt herself, and Joe hurt them both. They didn't have a great group, but I would probably put him at the bottom of the group.
Bro, that's pretty tough. Bottom of that group. That's pretty.
That was so brutal.
Putting it even below Joe.
The way he goes like, Tim Walz says he could kick your ass. He's like, oh boy, like it was so like perfectly dismissive. It was like a perfect note in like a symphony. I can't explain it, but that was just
it reminds
delicious.
me of Joe Biden telling Donald Trump that he could beat him in golf. It's like, how delusional are you? So we got again Tim Walz. Dude, we're bashing Tim Walz today. I mean, he's all over the news. I mean, I don't know how he got there. People were just allowing him to say things. They probably need to stop him. If I was head of DNC, I would definitely stop him from saying words. But
actually, I think they should let him keep going because they're going to create their own demise.
Who's head of DNC right now? David Hogg's over there, VP, V chair.
The Senate minority leader is still Chuck Schumer, I believe.
Well, I'm talking about the DNC.
Oh, the DNC. Okay, yeah.
I don't know.
I'm not exactly
that's
sure.
their department of marketing. I mean, somebody needs to tell Tim Walz that he just needs to shut his
going,
mouth.
Tim.
Keep going.
You
can do it.
You're doing great.
You can beat Donald Trump's ass. It's like, but this is again Tim Walz. Well, hold on. Let me get Trump on the DOE, and then I got a response from Tim Walz.
Tim Walz is now saying about Trump supporters and
students like my son who depend on IDEA and individual education plans to make sure that they're treated equally and get the best possible education they can. That's a hallmark of America. I think America's great contribution to the world is our public education system. And of course, Donald Trump doesn't care. And I appreciate you showing that photo because it's so obscene that he would put a mock classroom. We all know he's never been in one. He wouldn't last for a minute. He's never done it. He's surrounded by people who know nothing about education, and they want to make this about bureaucracy and cutting. This is about children. This is about broadband access in their schools. This is about the research you were talking about, pedagogy, things that we learn, and then it's about the Civil Rights Department at the Department of Education that makes sure that we don't have a situation where a Ruby Bridges is escorted to school with police. And so we're back in an area where we can segregate. And he knows that curriculums and those decisions are made on a local basis, but they muddy the water. So look, just like your previous guest, thanks for having her on, but it's chilling. They don't care about law. They don't care about where the American public's at. And that kind of segues to why I'm getting out there. And there's a reason that these Republican Congress members aren't holding town halls, because this is so unpopular they can't defend it. But I'm going to make sure that the voices of their constituents are heard.
Josh said he's got something for us.
Yeah, so I'm just going to throw this out there. The more we watch these clips and the more I see of Tim Walz, I'm going to say from like a broadcaster point of view and from a political commenter point of view, I don't think presentation-wise, optics-wise, he's as bad as everyone says. The reason that we can see these clips of him, like, you know, celebrating the drop in Tesla stock, which, you know, Kevin O'Leary and that other guy, like, correctly, like, and everyone can correctly point out how stupid that was. I don't think he's smart. But I do think, kind of like to the point I was making earlier, where I think this is the only guy they could find that wouldn't be an obvious like upstage to Kamala, you know what I mean, is I think that he does have something though. He's not terrible. I've definitely seen people that are worse that I'm like, how the hell, like, how'd you even get it in your head to get in politics? I could definitely see him like a school board guy, and just imagine his level of presentation. I mean, obviously, he's not going to kick anybody's ass. He's not going to kick Donald Trump's ass. But if he toned that down a little bit and had the right opinions, there is, but you know what I mean. You know what I mean, though. I'm saying,
don't be a faggot and have the right opinions.
I'm saying from an optics point of view. I mean, obviously, as you know, Ken points out, don't do the double clap like overhand wave. Like, don't do that. But like, aside from that, just like when he talks, it's like
he can't help it though, dude.
You're right, and I'm not, like I said, I'm not saying he's good. The best thing for him is not to be on TV ever at all. But like, you get what I'm saying though, where it's like you could see him being like a state senator, and he wouldn't be terrible. There's something there.
He could be a state house rep. I don't think he could be a state senator. I mean, that would be
certainly not.
He could. He obviously is, but optics wise, I do think. I mean, he should have topped out at school board. That's all I'm saying.
Sure, yeah, perfect. That's exactly
and then
what I'm
he should
saying.
have been kicked off of that too. But
like, okay, look, perfect example. If he were the principal, would he be like terrible?
Yes.
You think so? I don't know. Like I don't.
Tim Walz needs to go find a pencil factory or something.
He would be
man.
the one I could kick the superintendent's ass.
yeah.
But I mean, he should be the spokesperson for the whole reason the Department of Education is being gutted. With that level of insanity, like, where is your level of education? And you have this background, and yet the stuff that you spew out is pure stupidity. So the education department has even failed him, which is a whole other reason why just get rid of it.
Yeah, all I'm saying is like, just take his soul out of his body, replace it with somebody else's, but keep the cadence and the physique. And there's a nugget, you know. It's like I can understand why.
Josh, you have a really low bar for politicians. In Minnesota, you have a really low bar for politicians.
Well, I know a lot of politicians. So.
Now, I do want to make this point, though. You know, Donald Trump signed this executive order to kind of disband the Department of Education. He doesn't have that power. The Department of Education will still exist. He can hurt it enough to where it's not overbearing or hardly functional if he wants to, but to actually get rid of a department, it takes legislation because it took legislation to establish it.
That is correct. Back in 1979, if I remember correctly, is when that was actually created for that specific department. And he can't just completely eliminate the whole thing. There's things that he can do to adjust it, cut back on funding, things like that, but it doesn't just automatically go away because he said so. And that's the whole other thing. You know, we have Tim Walz and a number of other people, especially on the Democratic side, that is spouting this and just jumping all over it because they want to do the fear-mongering that they have been doing for ages and ages, and that's what they're trying to do again. It's the fear-mongering and creating this illusion of, oh my God, the world is coming to an absolute end today because there was an executive order issued, which they don't even fully understand what that order does or says or means. They just, because Donald Trump signed it, this is it.
Yeah,
it is the apocalypse today.
They have to have a bad guy. Everybody has to have a bad guy, and it looks to me like finally this Trump is Hitler thing is over, and now it's like, oh, this big tent Republican Party has to have an enemy too, and they are the enemy. At least that's what it looks like to me. You know, hopefully we win this thing. Hopefully we win this friend-enemy distinction.
The Trump is Hitler thing might be over or at least dying down, but now I think it's upcycling to Elon Musk being compared
I don't know if they have enough firepower behind them to, you know, use a little bit of pun there, to kind of push that. I don't think they have.
I would love to see it though, just to see how it plays out. Go ahead.
Yeah, let's see. Laughing Dog says Tim Walz is an area that is largely Midwest and lower that believe they are all 105 IQs and above. Yeah, well, that's basically
Minnesota,
all of America right now. But yeah, good on Trump for signing the Department of Education, whatever he's disbanding. That's possible.
There is a huge problem, and it has been for many, many years, and it's been talked about from other presidents. There is an absolute problem with the education system, and why they have not decided to go back. Let's erase all this crap that's tied to it and start with the fundamentals and go to a bare bones system and build up from there the right way again. Why has nobody ever done that? I don't know. I can't explain why, but at this level, that I believe is the whole reason for
bureaucracy.
We're going to disband this and start over again.
The people in these departments and the ones that control it don't want it disbanded, so it isn't, because there's money flowing somewhere.
There is, which I also believe with Tim Walz, that's why he's coming out on all these videos and has something to say all of a sudden. You didn't hear a word from him in a couple of months, nothing. It was like he disappeared.
He disappeared, and then he's back all of a sudden.
And now all of a sudden, so who's actually funding him though, and putting him up to it, because he does not have enough brain cells in his head to do it on his own. So there is somebody behind it that is funding it and pushing the agenda or the word and putting it in his ear, because he did not create it himself.
Josh, you've been real quiet this podcast.
I'm really tired.
Go to sleep. Go to sleep.
But I do think, though. So let me ask you, Zeb. You were talking about the like good guy bad guy distinction. How like basically the state of politics today is that they like both sides kind of need a boogeyman. Do you almost think that's why we're hearing about Tim Walz all of a sudden? Like we brought up several times how it's like oh my gosh, I almost forgot about him. But now now that's all everyone's talking about today.
Who else would they have to champion the far left? These radical trannies.
Is he doing that though?
At a minimum, he's going to be holding up a shield and taking fire.
Yeah, I mean, he's not going to throw him under the bus.
I mean,
like
Gavin
he's not
Newsom's
distancing himself like Gavin
AOC's
Newsom.
not going to do it. Fetterman's not going to do it.
Fetterman definitely not. Gavin Newsom is just like a creature of the establishment, and he's only going to go along with what is popular when it's popular. There is a bit of authenticity to AOC, but I think she's
but
not
she's
being
not
as
retarded.
she's not being as
She's not actually
outspoken because
retarded. She's
people
just
like
kinda
her.
retarded.
Yeah. But she's likable, and I think the DNC is like really reining her in. They're like, look, like you got a future here, but you need to shut up like about this for right now if you want to stay in this. I think that's what's going on right now.
So why Tim Walz now? I don't know. I just think that they need someone, and he just happened to be there.
I think he's a good fall guy target.
That's true.
They can push the word, the agenda. If there's any fallout from it, if there's backfire from it, oh well, he said it. It's his fault.
Yeah,
It's easier
even CNN
to
is
push it off on him.
I mean, CNN's even running these panels with multiple people that are opposed to Tim Walz. I mean, I don't know. Maybe the Democrat Party is trying to get rid of this extremist element that they have and try to go more moderate because they know that's the only way they win. But I don't think that's going to happen either. I don't know if you've watched any of our other ones. I have this theory that because of the Republican Party is getting bigger and bigger, that it's this tent here. Look, tent, boom. Bigger, bigger, bigger to where it can't hold but so many people because everybody from the left is being put in this tent because the tent's getting bigger. Not necessarily they're leaving. I don't think they're moving ideologically. I think they're just being, the tent's expanding because we need more voters. And so when this happens, it leaves an extremist element. And this extremist element is going to leave a void in the Democrat Party because they just simply don't have numbers. And I think the tent is going to cause a division, and someone is going to have to take over that infrastructure that is the DNC. Thoughts on that one?
That could actually be a very interesting idea to that, and that could possibly be what is happening or could happen with that. And there too, where is the master behind the curtain? Who's pulling the strings to orchestrate that? Because many of these people and many of these groups do the same way with Tim Walz. They're not the ones that are thinking of these things. They have their ideas or opinions, but they are not the ones that are just going out and automatically voicing their thoughts and opinions. Somebody else is pulling the strings behind the curtain to make them do the dance.
Well, you say that. There was I don't know, it was 2-3 weeks ago. There was this big push on, I guess it was mainly TikTok, but all these politicians came out with the exact same short form video. Do you remember that? Kind of like a Mockingbird type setup where they were all fed this information. It was clipped on top of.
And it was
Trump.
repeat cookie cutter.
Yeah, it was word for word. I'm sure everybody's seen the Mockingbird scene where they overlay each newscast, boom, 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 and they all say the exact same thing in unison. Well, there was like 32 politicians that did this exact same thing in opposition to. I can't remember what Trump was pushing. But anyway, they were all in opposition, and it was word for word trying to oppose that. So, I mean, there is this apparatus that is the Mockingbird that they're trying to create because they don't have legacy media to push the opinions of voters or boomers, if you will, to vote the way they want to do. They don't have the same MK Ultra mind melding TV box that they used to have. Josh, you anything?
No, I think you're right. We've talked about your umbrella theory before, and I remember
I like that.
Yeah, I remember you brought it up kind of like on the fly during one of our shows, and I was like, no, maybe, and I do think there is, and honestly, that's what concerns me though. And we've talked about this before a little bit, and I want to get your opinion on this, David, where, like, for example, we brought up Chuck Schumer a little bit ago, how he's the Senate Minority Leader now, and Chuck Schumer has been in that role forever, and there is almost this coup against him because of his stance on the CR bill recently, and it's one of those things where he's old, he's ghoulish looking. It's just he's this bad, like it's this bad optic, you know what I mean? And now it's like there is this shift because of what you've seen on the right. There just inevitably is this shift on the left, and that's almost like more concerning to me, is because like the left adapting. What does that look like?
Yeah, I find that really amazing though too, and watching what he had to go through to say, okay, we're going to accept this bill. We're not thrilled about it, but we're going to go ahead and pass it anyway. Being one of the few that wanted to do that, it's in a way laughable though, because he at least had the smarts and common sense about him, where many of the others did not even have it. He knew they were in a corner no matter what, no matter which way they turned. If we don't pass the bill, the government's going to shut down. If we do, we're going to be, thrown under the bus for passing the bill that keeps the government from shutting down, which is everything that they've been railing against. We don't want the government shut down. We don't want the government shut down. Oh, well, here's the bill, but if we don't sign it, it's going to shut the government down. But now we're not going to do it. So who cares if the government shuts down? And he at least had the sense to know, well, we don't have an option. We're out of options. So we better go forward. We live today to fight tomorrow.
Yeah, put them in a rock and a hard place. Josh, I didn't send this to you, but I sent something to David about pensions, and we were talking about Tim Walz pensions in wherever he's from, Minnesota, state of Minnesota's Tesla investment. This is 1.6 million shares in retirement fund. Shares in non-retirement fund is 211,000, and it's 0.5% of all shares held. So we're talking about pensions, right? We kind of mentioned that earlier, but I sent David something earlier today. Did you take a look at it at all?
I did, and I was starting to look at that and look at the graphs and figures and everything, and
because I don't know how a pension works. I've never worked for anybody that has a pension. I've never looked into it. I never cared to, and so the kind of premise was that they're doing to pensions what they were doing to home loans and mortgages back in 2008.
Yes.
And so they just keep this process of cyclical recycling to gain money on private equity, where they, back in 2008 or 07, 08, it bust because they were repetitively recycling mortgages to upscale their rating with the bank or whoever
banks
does that.
were doing bullshit deals on mortgages, and that's exactly what it comes to. They were deals that should have never been done, should have never been taken, but they made the risk because they knew on the back end, one way or the other, they're getting a payout, no matter how it was going to fall. Didn't matter if everybody was going into bankruptcy, whatever was going to happen, they were still going to get money either through bailouts or somebody was going to pay the price on it somewhere. So it didn't matter how it happened. And what they did, all those bad debt mortgages that were coming along, they would put them in a bundle or a cluster, repackage them, sell them off to another division that would buy them, use private equity firms to use money put in there, bail it out. And then ultimately the federal government came in and, oh, well, we can't let all these banks fail and go down, because then we'd have another.
So is that how pensions are working now? Like pensions aren't fully funded. Like, I don't understand how. Well, I don't understand. I don't understand
pensions
ratio
either through the state or privately or however you want to go about it are pretty much funded the same way. They could have it in different options. They could have it in stock market. They could have it in mutual funds. They could have it in different ratios for that. But to earn their interest, to keep it growing, it's coming from somewhere else. So whether it be what individual stock investment or however that's being funded, just to say, if you have your 401k from a job, that 401k is broken down into different mutual funds or investments. That's what's creating the interest on your 401k. You're not just putting your own money into it, you're earning interest off of that. That interest is coming from those investments. So if those investments sink and go down, your money also goes down. You can lose principal on your money that you've already put in. So, and that does happen, and we've seen it happen. We've seen that happen during the Obama administration as well.
So it's almost a catch-22 here then, where if the stock market goes down, the pension goes down, and so they have to start pulling it out, which will increase the drop rate of the stock market to fund the pension, and it's cyclical. I mean, it's being...
And that's the sheer
I don't know
stupidity
what the
Tim Walz
complete
cheering
volume
this on to say, oh, you know, this is awesome that Tesla stock is going down, 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 when so much of their investment is in that stock to help generate income for all these people. So what are you going to do, Tim Walz, when that stock depletes? If it were to crash and just go out, where are you going to make up all the difference in the interest for these pensions to supply and pay for it?
Would you say that 0.5% is a decent amount to have invested into a single stock for pension funds?
Because of the sheer volume and size of how many shares are out there for this state pension fund that's out there, I would say that's pretty decent. I think it's a fair mix because of how well it was paying.
Yeah.
And it still is not paying bad on the dividends.
Yeah, but we wanted to go to zero.
I know, absolutely. let's just crash everybody's pension and watch them. Okay, now they can get in line for food stamps and assistance in every form.
I guess the
you were
question,
happy about the stock going to nothing.
I think that speaks to the state of politics as it is right now, where the governor of Minnesota clearly doesn't understand that. I mean, you understand it. I'm not familiar with it. Zeb just said he's not really looked into it before either, but we're not the governor of an entire state in the United States of America. And
Which also, how reckless are you to cheer on something like that when you're supposed to be a leader? You were elected as an official to lead a state, and you were going to be VP of the entire United States, and your mindset is that far behind to, really? And you want to be the leader? Come on.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, I guess the question I would have is, does a pension bubble burst look like an 07-08 bubble burst in the same respect that housing does?
Good question.
Is there enough sheer volume of funds in one place to create a cascading effect like that?
You know, and that's an excellent question, and I wish I did have a definitive answer on it. I don't. Oftentimes there are things as stopgaps or backups for state pension funds, but when you have company pension funds, which a lot of companies have gone away from an actual pension and have gone to things like a 401k plan or something similar to that, they moved out of there because oftentimes the old pension funds weren't feasible to keep them liquid and operating at a decent cost, because there's a lot of fees for administrative things that get involved with that. Now, on the state level, I don't know to what level they've negotiated that kind of structure. Hopefully they were sensible and smart in doing that. But yes, it can, in many forms, create a huge impact on a number of people if a pension fund even decreases by 20%. That's a huge impact on your pension check coming in every month that you rely on to live in old age.
Pensions have to grow at a significant percentage just to keep up with everything.
For many years they did not, though.
Like is a pension fund not just Social Security on steroids somehow?
No.
So it doesn't fund. So the pensioners collecting aren't being paid by employees in the same way that
the money
Social
got
Security
put into the pot, just like Social Security. The money got put into the pot, but
the organization didn't pull out of it like they
Right.
pulled out of Social Security.
Yes.
Okay.
So
I guess it makes sense.
It can create a lot of havoc because, you know, somebody in their 70s that is relying on a small amount of Social Security, which of course there's talk about having to decrease the Social Security payments that are being made because it will deplete if we do not make changes now. It will deplete
pensions aren't a
by
Ponzi
2030.
scheme.
That's 5 years away. That is not that many years away to turn that whole system around. And that's mega people.
Well, the Social Security is a Ponzi scheme.
It has been.
Okay, so pensions aren't a Ponzi scheme.
Not supposed to be.
From the
Not
outside.
supposed
From
to
the
be.
outside. We'll have to do a video on that.
If we could interview people from BlackRock Investments, maybe we could get a decent answer, but no.
Yeah, I'll put a wig and some lipstick on. I'll go try to find me I'll tell them I'm not with James O'Keefe. These people, those videos are so hilarious. They're like, you're eating dinner with some hot chick, and the dude's over here like, yeah, I just hope you're not some journalist because you're really interested in this stuff. It's like, bro, like these are the retards working at BlackRock. Come on, bro. But yeah. I mean,
these Eastern Europeans, man, you throw a blonde in their face and they go crazy.
They lose it, dude. Elon's not immune to that either, let's say.
Nope.
You want to touch on anything else? Tim Walz, Doge, Tesla, Tim Walz some more. Donald Trump. Department of Education. I mean, what do you... Okay, let me ask you this. Where do you see the Department of Education heading if we cut it? I mean, obviously it goes to the state, but is it going to be school choice all around? Are we changing entire curriculums? I mean, because, I don't see the education's changing that much, even if it's eradicated at the federal level. Like,
in my opinion, I don't see that drastic of changes coming other than to get rid of all the absolute crap that has been tied to that department for ages and ages that needed to go away. I think DOGE is on the right track through all the departments. It's not that we want to just get rid of every service and just do away with every government entity. It is, let's gut this thing because there is so much bullshit tied to every department that should have never been put there in the first place. And to weed out, we need to get to the bare bone of everything before we can actually rebuild it and make it the way it's supposed to be. And that, for a lot of people, they don't want to hear that or accept it. But until you cut away all that rotted flesh off of there and get down to the bottom of it.
Me and you had this conversation a little bit a while ago, talking about, all the dominoes have to fall at one time. or there's no point in just one of them falling. And I think if one of them falls, they all fall. And so, burn it all down, dude. I'm fine with burning it all down. Not Tesla though. Just metaphorically, the government.
That's why I'm more when we have this discussion, I'm more skeptical of what Doge can actually accomplish because it's like these little bite-sized chunks we're taking out of it. Well, again, like to what we were just saying earlier about how these people's heads need to metaphorically roll, like people need to be held accountable. All the people that were mooching, skimming, they're not dead. They're not in jail. They're still out there somewhere. And they just got bought off with 8 months of paid leave, essentially. And what happens when Trump's no longer in office and hypothetically the next
that's the
one doesn't
better
get
part
in?
of it. I mean, there's options that we're giving you a retirement package. We're giving you a way out. You are not getting your slush fund anymore, but we're at least giving you a window. Get out while you can. And why would you not do that? To stand there and argue and fight about absolute ridiculous nonsense that you are going down if you stay. If you get out, we're leaving you off the hook, and here's some pension money to go on your way and have a nice day.
Well, Josh keeps talking about heads rolling. We talked about
and hamster wheels, human hamster wheels.
We talked about capital punishment and the firing squad. They just had somebody executed in South Carolina for the first time in a long time. I'm for a guillotine. Let's go, dude. I mean, we can save some bullets. We can save some electricity.
Put them on Capitol Hill.
This is a guillotine would be an investment, right? When there's no upfront payments. You don't have to buy any bullets. You don't have to pay for the electricity. You don't have to pay for the chemicals.
No, leave it to our government because they will find ways to involve DHEC to come out and inspect it to make sure it's sanitary first before.
Can't use it today. It's got rust. They might get tetanus when their head comes off.
They don't want it to it's like, well, we got to check the tracks, so it has enough traction, so it doesn't slow down and only go halfway.
It's going to be recalibrated.
Yeah. They got like a guillotine technician.
Well, that was one of the problems with the electric chairs. They hadn't used it in so long; it hadn't had any upkeep. So they basically gave the guy the option of the electric chair that may or may not work, or the firing squad, because the chemicals they had. What'd you say? The chemicals they had used they couldn't get them anymore or something.
It was
or the last three times the dude didn't die because the mixture was wrong.
The CNN article I read basically said that, and I remember we talked about this. It was so vague. All it said was the typical chemicals used, didn't say what they were inaccessible, and even if they were, the last three times they used them, it didn't go as planned, where it wasn't as, let's say, easy as a transition as it's supposed to be.
Maybe they were Ozempic patients and had some kind of chemical reaction that it doesn't work anymore.
Well, Josh had this wonderful idea of just using fentanyl. It's effective. Right, yeah. It's effective.
Yeah.
Let's go.
If I can choose whether to be...
And we can get it on any street corner.
Yeah. If I can choose whether to be shot in lethal injection or electric chair, can't I choose the drug for the lethal injection?
The drug for the injection.
Yeah.
I mean, and it would be so much faster. It's everywhere
what are you taking?
in the United States.
Are you taking the fentanyl, the electric chair, or the firing squad? What would you pick, David?
Oh my God! I'd rather go with the non-surgical guillotine.
One that they threw together with Home Depot parts. They just have a guy stand on the top of it as it comes down.
I mean, didn't somebody make one for January 6th? Didn't they take that to the Capitol on January 6th? Y'all remember that picture?
I do think I remember that. Yes.
Maybe. Hopefully he left it there. We can start just executing politicians.
I don't think even we have to actually do it. It's just the thought of if we're putting it in place, and it is now on the table to do it, it might change some.
Yeah, I mean the same concept that they're using at the border right now. I mean border or mass deportations aren't really happening, but border crossings are definitely down.
Mm-hmm.
Like something like
it is
98% or something.
And I think a lot of that too is just the idea and the few places where they had ICE come in and actually pick up people. It has not been busloads and busloads, but they have picked up smaller groups and numbers, and just enough of that to put the fear at, oh damn, this could really happen, I think is changing a lot of the ideas.
So we've been going a little while, and I know how you feel about this, but I want to ask you, David, with the district court judge or the lower court judge who issued, he said that Donald Trump did not have the authority to deport these Venezuelan or El Salvador, whatever.
They were Venezuelan. It was a Venezuelan gang sent by the Venezuelan government.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. And
largely
he said
to the point.
Yeah, I just wanted to get your thoughts on how do you feel about the president just ignoring it?
I think it's great. I think it's absolutely great. I mean, we obviously need judges in place to hand out the law that is put in place. But when they are ignoring the law themselves and just turning it to whatever side they want to see, no, just forget it. We're done listening to you.
I agree.
This morning on Josh's show, I'm gonna get in trouble.
It will be one day.
This morning y'all brought up a point. Ken did, to the judges that make rulings like this should be extradited to the Supreme Court, and if they are ruled to be unconstitutional judgments by these judges, then they should be revoked from their position.
Because I think that's a great take.
There's no consequences.
They're not upholding the law that they were set out to judge upon, and carry out those.
Well, these are activist judges that have no consequences for action. There are no repercussions for these judges. I mean, they are essentially above the law, if you will. And there's no one to hold them accountable except for the Supreme Court. And I would even have issue with some of the Supreme Courts lately. I mean, what is Roberts and Barrett doing, dude?
Yeah, they're not good. And this is something I've been
it's
talking
like
about.
Loyalty,
With
dude.
Yeah,
Golly.
This is something I've talked about with friends before. Friends that aren't even involved in politics. They tell me about, like, they hear stuff where they're like, how do judges have this much power? Like, you see it in movies and you think, oh, it's a movie, but genuinely a judge can, like, change someone's sentence on a whim because of how they dressed in court. And it's like,
essentially,
like,
yes,
that level of subjectivity.
They have the ideology that, yes, they can, that's their position. They have the authority to do so by that, and they're elected. Most all judges are elected. So somebody has put them there. And if you're not watching and listening to them actively and ongoing, you have the chance of putting somebody into a very powerful position that is going to do a lot of damage.
Mm-hmm. I don't keep up with it that much, David. I mean, how would you describe our judges around here? I know you're in
on
that world.
our local level.
Yeah, local level.
I think we have a number of them that do fairly well. I think
I'm not asking you to name names. Or
no,
anything.
and that's fine. I think we have some just like anywhere else that I don't believe every ruling is with good intent. I think there's some
good old boys going on.
Yes, absolutely. But then I also think that there's some judges that don't get the praise and enough power that they really should have.
Okay, let me ask you this. How much at fault are judges in this perpetual send them to jail, they get out, commit crimes, arrest them, send them to court, send them to jail, they get out, commit crimes, arrest them? Just this cycle of police trying to do their job, the judge just essentially setting them free with a wrist slap and getting out and doing it again, and to the point where the police don't even want to do their job anymore.
And I could even speak on that as a local level to what I see happening, and it really infuriates me all the time. I've had a number of conversations with people about this very thing, because we do have higher crime rates in certain areas of my county and surrounding counties there. And it's ridiculous for the number of repeat offenders that they're in jail one day, 2 days later, they're back on the streets doing the same exact thing that they were put in jail for. And the police, you talk to the sheriff's department, you talk to the police departments, they're just sick and tired of getting the calls for it because they know who the people are. They put them in, they're out. They put them in, they're out.
Yeah, no, they know these
is
people
actually
personally.
happening to them. If they have a fine, it's, well, we're going to slap you with $100 fine. Big deal. What is that actually doing? Why do we keep doing this repeat cycle of this over and over and over again? Now, in some levels, I think it's a way for the counties and things to get their little paycheck money. Oh, you have speeding ticket. Let's give you this little fine, and we're going to go on our way again. But there's no real consequences that are happening. And why are the judges not handing down? You know what? I've seen you in this courtroom 7 times now. I've had enough. I'm going for maximum sentence, maximum fine.
Yeah, it should be exponential.
Over.
It's just stacked.
I'm not even talking about it anymore. This is the max. You're getting the 10 years and $10,000 fine.
Was it George Floyd that had 44, or the guy that Daniel Penny wrapped up had 44 arrests or something like that?
I think
one
both.
of them was like 13. One of them was like 13, 14. The other one was like 44, 46.
George Floyd had a
Jordan
rap
Neely.
sheet.
Yeah, Neely.
Yeah. They both had extensive criminal records, but Jordan Neely, the one who died in an incident with Daniel Penny in the subway, he was like a regular in and out of jail for like petty theft and one of these like street performer types where he's just like harassing people in the subway, like, here's my Michael Jackson impression, give me some money now. That type of behavior.
These people, like, these crimes should stack exponentially. Like if you get the same crime once, okay, day 2 jail. Second time, okay, 2 weeks. Okay, next time 3 years. Next time 30 years. I don't care if it's petty theft the entire time. It's like these things should stack exponentially. We shouldn't have to live in a society where we are perpetually putting people in jail for the same crime over and over and over. We have to recognize that these people are bad for society. If we want a good society, they ought not be in it.
Well, absolutely. And I feel on that. I mean, I don't feel he should have died for the crime. I think that's a little bit beyond. But at the same time, if the harshness would have been put in place to give a hard sentence or a hard fine or the combination of, this may have stopped and not have even had to go to that level. May not have had a rap sheet with 39 arrests on it.
Well, and I don't think it's immoral to say that, like, from like a biblical or Christian point of view, it's like, of course we want everyone to be in the right place. We don't want anyone to be in like bad condition, both physically or spiritually, whatever. But from a societal point of view, it's not immoral for us to say that obviously like him dying is not the ideal outcome, but it's also like not the worst thing ever. Like to say that society is like the average day of a commuter not being harassed by this guy is better off. And again, that's not saying, well, it's okay that justifies him dying or whatever. But I think it's okay. Basically, and I'm not the first person to make this point, but we almost live in an anarcho-tyrannical system to where the criminals that are committing petty theft, harassing people, are constantly being let out. And then one guy who does like one instance of borderline vigilante justice, his name is dragged through the mud for years.
And that life is over.
Yeah.
Absolutely. We have a society where the victims are the ones that are criminalized more so than the criminals themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Let me throw a stray at Tim Walz. People like him are the reason this exists. I mean, these effeminate types that don't want to actually enforce the law. He wants to beat all Trump supporters' asses. Well, dude, you can't even put people in prison. Minnesota is a Muslim state at this point. It's like, dude, get a grip, bro. Tim Walz kind of set me off today, if nobody can tell. If anybody's still sticking around, listen to us ramble. Give us a like, subscribe. Thank you for coming in. Anything y'all want to add before we peace out of here?
I've added it.
I think it's been another great session. It's
David, thank you
really
for coming on.
Interesting. I always love the conversations and the different viewpoints, especially getting to hear some different ideas coming out of this. And I've been hearing a lot of chatter on the news lately and trying to follow up more on it because of this whole pension thing with funding and such. There's a lot of money trails that I'm also trying to watch and see where things are going to be headed to. And what is DOGE going to be uncovering even further within our own government to see where some of those lead to.
Yeah, I'm interested too. I mean, dude, just a perspective point. It's mid-March. We aren't even 3 months into this presidency yet. Like, that's significant.
Just the amount of money that's already been
right? January,
found.
February, March. I mean, we're not even 2 months into the presidency.
Yeah,
just barely.
Yeah, we're not at the 100-day mark yet.
Laughing Dog said Minneapolis and St. Paul are indistinguishable from Somali in some areas. Who's the incestual chick up there? What's her name?
Ilhan Omar.
Yeah,
from Somalia.
One of the squad.
Dude, it's official. I mean, she has admitted. Well, she didn't admit, but it's come out officially that she married her brother. Like, this chick needs to be deported. Not sitting in Congress. This is insane.
Yeah, that's
you talk about
crazy.
enforcing the law. Screw the judges. Get Ilhan Omar back to where she's from, dude. Non-American in Congress, that is an issue. That is a major issue. And we can go all the way down the board. Dual citizenship, get them out of here. I don't want them. You can't sit in Congress if you have dual citizenship. I'm tired of it. I don't care what country it is. Somaliland, I won't say the other one.
And like I remember, you remember there was that clip of Vivek talking to a descendant of Ben Franklin.
Yeah. Oh yeah. He's telling.
And
about,
I was like, "Why?
You know who made those glasses?
Yeah, yeah.
Your great granddaddy." It's like, dude.
To me, it's like, why isn't that guy running the country? Or like Vivek, who's a second generation immigrant, has more of a say.
Yeah, dude.
In what happens.
If you at random just chose founding fathers, great grandchildren, this country would be running so much more effectively. It would be mind blowing. And I don't care if they don't even have a high school education.
Even if they were liberal.
care about America, and the ones sitting in these congressional and Senate, and some of the cabinet seats don't even have it.
On you.
Come on, what you got?
Elizabeth Warren. I mean, that's the descendant of Pocahontas, as
Trump
says.
Well, not a founder. Not a founder. Just kidding.
She's part of the squad.
That's right.
But yeah, I don't know. That kind of it gets me fired up. People like
I'd love to even question though, for the people that supposedly voted to put her in office, where was that thinking and mindset to think that this is even a great idea? Somebody that came to the country obviously has a hate for it, wants to dismantle things from within, and yet you think this is the best person to put in place to represent you? Like, how far off are we though in our whole mindset to be even putting somebody like that in place?
Yeah, I don't know exactly what her numbers are demographic wise for her constituents, but I know for a fact, because I've gone on some of the like Google Maps and ran around Minneapolis and St. Paul. I mean, these places are, I mean, it's non-English signs, whatever they speak in Somaliland. That's what these signs are. I mean, it's like, you go to New York and you go to Chinatown, or you go to the Bronx. I mean, these are different, they're not American places. And the same way with, some of these Minneapolis and places like that. Like, these aren't American locations.
It's funny because the last time I checked, those cities and counties and states are within the United States.
That's
so
right. It's like
why are you not following the letter of the law?
Like Reading, Pennsylvania would be an example. Reading, Pennsylvania is like 92% Hispanic. It looks like Mexico in Pennsylvania, dude.
Yes.
In the same way over there. I mean, I haven't been there personally, but
And that's
you can
funny
run around
because
in Google.
my dad grew up in Reading, Pennsylvania when he was born and little. He actually grew up in Reading, Pennsylvania. And much like New York City, they did have their little sections within themselves, but it was not that it had changed to any kind of predominant demographic. And at that time, everybody, oh, hey, everything's good. We're all happy, having a good time, getting along. You do business with me, I'll do business with you. Everything worked out fine. And years later, now it looks like a war-torn country.
Well, and I'm from Charlotte, North Carolina, and in my lifetime, like, that's the city I grew up in. Every once in a while I go home and visit family. I went to a gas station that I'd been going to my entire life. A few weeks ago, I was like, am I in a bazaar in like the Middle East? What's going on here? This is North Carolina in the United States, and it was, and I was like the only white person in there.
I do want to make this point. We're talking about all these locations inside of America that are simply not America because there's not Americans there, and it doesn't look like or feel familiar to us. I also want to make this point. Some of the places like I went to Ashboro. I went up there, and we had to go to the grocery store to get some stuff. It kind of looked like America. It wasn't skyscrapers, but it was a decent area. I stopped and went to a food line. I went in there and everything was locked down. because of demographics in this location. And just because it may look like America, it's not America. Like, we are not a high trust society anymore because we have foreigners here that don't have any loyalty to each other, don't have any loyalty to America. So this idea or this structure that Americans have built, that is a high trust society built on people of good character and good morals, doesn't exist in some of these locations, and it's pocketed where it's not just kind of sparsed out. It's like, at this point, what is America, man? I mean, what do we do with these people that simply don't belong here? They must be deported. It has to be enforced.
That's a funny idea because, you know, we were founded on the principles of give us you're tired, you're poor, you're hungry, and to come here, and you actually had a loyalty coming to this country. No matter where you were from, you were accepted to be able to come here and have a life and do all the things that you never got to do in that other country. And where has that gone? Why have we lost that loyalty of all the people that have just come here illegally to be here? What is their actual purpose if not to have any loyalty to what it's always stated about? Well, they're just coming here for a better life and having more freedom and more chances and everything. And yet they have no loyalty. There is nothing to do for America.
Josh, you want that? I'll take it.
Basically, I would disagree that was one of our founding principles. We don't need to hone in on that too much unless you think it's necessary, Zeb. But basically, I would say that actually there is a ethnic and almost racial core that the culture is a descendant of. Like culture is not totally arbitrary. That comes from something. And even a lot, like you see this a lot in like we talk about assimilation and stuff where basically like you get another perfect example in Charlotte. There's a lot, or even South Carolina in general, there's a lot of immigration from northern states to South Carolina. You see this in Texas. Like there's a lot of immigration from California to Texas. And what happens is these are basically subsects within America that are drastically different, and it changes the nature of the locale. Like it changes the nature of the culture, like even in economic ways. You know what I mean? Like that's probably the least like notable way. But now imagine where you have like and they're American. They speak English. It's by metric of everyone else, it's like slightly different. But now you're taking up huge portions of populations from drastically different people, from drastically alien cultures. And what happens? They have no desire. They don't have any respect. They're coming here because it's like winning the lottery, essentially. It's like, you know, they're getting free shit. And what do they do? They're basically pilfering the nation, and they have no intent of.
And that's very much my point when the people now are coming here and doing nothing in turn. It's not that you're wanting to come here to make a better life and you know, contribute to the American dream. No, give me my free shit and let me go home.
It's also an exponential increase of nepotism. So anytime someone gets empowered, I could show you the studies, but essentially whites, Europeans are the least nepotistic by a long shot. And nepotistic, I mean, you know, favor that which is ethnic or kin to you. And so nepotism isn't bad in itself. I do think there is a component where, you know, I want my son to be like me. And so to do that, I will give him my inheritance. That's just natural. But the problem is when a system is built by and for a people of particular, and another group of people come in to usurp that system by nepotistic means. And so you can point to almost any group. I would get some pushback, you know, from friends of mine that would say Indians aren't nepotistic, or that would say, you know, name any group, and you know, they have a personal position on this where they say, you know, we're not nepotistic. or the individual isn't nepotistic. The problem is it doesn't matter if the individual is nepotistic, the group is. And so there's a hierarchy there that is going to be climbed faster by some groups than other groups. And it's a disenfranchisement of the people that have built the systems and were supposed to, or it's theft of the inheritance of a people that their grandfathers built the thing to give to them. I mean, that's what it boils down to. I don't even remember what the original question was. So here we are. How did we get here? Nepotism and free stuff.
Free shit.
That's right. It is free shit.
So what do we do?
Obviously, and that's what was put on the Tesla charger by that dude.
Free shit. He was giving out free shit.
Hey, that's a good callback.
All right. Before I go on another rant, I guess we'll end it here. Thank you, Josh, for joining me. David, thank you for driving over here. Thank you for the conversation. Josh, thank you for staying awake for us. If you're watching, Laughing Dog, thank you for the comments. Ladies and gentlemen, we will see you Wednesday, maybe. You want to shoot for Tuesday?
Well, Tuesday.
Someday. One day. We'll see.
Tuesday.
Later.